Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching at home. Let's call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's office in preparation of the Council Annual Meeting Notice dated December 17, 2025, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised that fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Okay. Thank you. And would you please read the roll?
Mr. Boyer?
Present.
Mr. Crisafulli?
Here.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Here.
Ms. Landman?
Here.
Ms. Saracena?
Here.
Mr. Pulowski?
Here.
President Toth?
Here. Thank you. Let's see. I didn't give you any notice, but Mimi Zukoff and George Drosanos, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you please read the notice regarding closed session and hearings and comments?
A closed session meeting as authorized by state statute was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast Channel 34 and 36 and Verizon Channel 30 and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on HTTV on Comcast 36 and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, spell your last name, and speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the City Clerk's office at cityclerk@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes in length. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for professional emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to expand a bit on the city clerk's note about hearings and comments. This will facilitate a smoother process, particularly for those watching remotely. If you're seated in one of the first 2 rows, please remain silent. Anything you say can be picked up by the recording microphones, and it makes it difficult to hear the official proceedings. And the 3-minute limit on public comments corresponds to a bit less than a single printed page. If you're leaving written remarks behind, please put your name on them and place them in the box near the lectern when you're done. And with that, let's move on to the city's business. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and closed sessions on May 5th, 2026?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On to reports. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Last night, we had a wonderful swearing-in ceremony at the firehouse for 3 members of our fire department. Firefighter Tom Penn was promoted to lieutenant, and then we swore in Andrew Mallon and Alexandra Pereira as new Summit firefighters. So if you see them around town, give them a warm welcome. And it was terrific to see many family members and friends and other firefighters come out to support them. I wanted to extend my sincere congratulations to all 3. Our annual Memorial Day Parade is next Monday. The parade leaves from 25 DeForest Avenue in the parking lot behind the building at 10 a.m. We'll start to gather there at about 9:30, and we will proceed through downtown to the Village Green, where we'll hold a special ceremony featuring music, a rifle salute and wreath laying, and more. Residents are invited to line the streets in the downtown to watch the parade go by. This is one of my favorite days, so I hope you join us, and I hope you come to the ceremony afterwards as well. This event is small, but it's powerful tribute to those who have lost their lives in military service to our country, and I really do hope you join us. And then lastly, I'm excited to share that thanks to a partnership between the Westfield Regional Health Department and RWJ Barnabas Trinitas Medical Center, a new women, infants, and children's site is opening at the community center on June 1st. New Jersey residents who meet the income requirements will be able to make appointments to access services including nutrition, health, and breastfeeding education, referrals to other community resources, and electronic food benefits for income-eligible pregnant women and postpartum women, infants, and children up to 5 years old. We have more information on how to apply for that or to schedule an appointment on the homepage of the city website. That's all. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. And yes, the poppies growing in Flanders Field always tugs at my heart. Unfortunately, Tammy Baldwin is under the weather, so I'm going to give her report as well as my own, starting with the city administrator report. Please be advised that city offices will be closed next week on Memorial Day. Monday is also a parking holiday in Summit with no fees required for on-street parking in municipal lots or garages. Also, the summer hours at City Hall begin next week and continue through Labor Day. On Monday through Thursday, City Hall will be open from 8 to 4:30, and on Fridays from 8 till 1. This Friday, May 22nd, City Hall will open at 8:30 and close early at 1 p.m. Because of the holiday, we've also got modified recycling collection. There is no recycling collection on Monday, Memorial Day, so all the collections are going to be moved by one day. The Monday collection on Tuesday, Tuesday on Wednesday, and so forth. There is no change to trash collection, so it'll be a two-step process. The next Summit Free Market is going to be this Friday from 12 to 1 at the transfer station. So Summit residents with the parking disposal permit can attend and browse discarded items, take what they want for free. The donation guidelines are on the city website at cityofsummit.org/free market. And we've probably all seen that PSE&G milling and paving is going on throughout this week and next week all over town. The schedule of known work is posted on the news feed and the homepage of the city website. And there are a couple of other surprises throughout town, as most of us have seen. So just remember that all work is weather dependent and subject to change. Now it's time for the council president's report. I just get to keep talking. First, I want a reminder, keep saying this, Tuesday, June 2nd is election day, so our next council meeting will be Wednesday, June 3rd. Please vote. Early voting begins on May 26th, and the nearest location to us is the DeCorso Senior Center in New Providence. And the rest of my report's going to be a little bit different. All of the Summit City employees give at least 100% to the residents. However, I want to recognize Nicole Griffiths, the police department's administrative manager. Nikki is the driving force behind the Gallo Senior Building's monthly game night. She has worked with residents to organize this. Since the beginning of the year, Nikki has solicited, every month, Nikki has solicited prizes from local merchants. She arranges for the food. She pays out of pocket for what she can't otherwise source. And most of us on council have attended one or two of these monthly game nights. It's a lot of fun, but Nikki is there every month. She knows everybody who attends. She calls the bingo games long after I've gone hoarse and can't talk anymore, and she just keeps that party going. This month, you're probably aware there was a bad car accident right outside of the old firehouse. Much of the Gallo building lost power. So Nikki kept game night going for an extra hour just so the residents wouldn't have to go back to dark apartments with no power. At the same time, City Hall lost power, and Nikki arranged to make sure that the premises were secure and that all of the electronic door locks didn't just fail. She was all over the place. We are really lucky to have Nikki, and the next time you see her, please give her a big thanks. And let's move on to our historical minute. Councilmember Pulowski.
You can come up, Chief. Tonight, we had hoped to have Chris Cotter come in and do this report, right? Since he did it previously, but you'll do, Chief. He's going to provide a...
Awkward, never extended the invite. But I do want to reiterate what Council President had said about Nikki. She's not only the backbone of game night, she's the backbone of the police department. I'm fairly certain if I left tomorrow, business would continue. If she left tomorrow, we'd all be in serious trouble. So I echo those comments. Thank you for that. I'm excited to have a full house for this historical minute because I do think there's value in understanding the history of the city of Summit. So let's get started. So the history of our patch. The first patch was actually a metal badge. It was not a patch. At the founding of the police department in 1899 until about the 1950s, a uniform patch was not issued. Officers were identified by the metal badges worn on their covers, a military term for a duty hat, and over their hearts on their blouse coats. You could see our first police chief, William Stewart, right there in the middle, and his trusty canine, Duke. Then we transitioned to a triangular patch, which was very common in this era of history. As the area surrounding the city began to develop and the population increased after World War II, the department began to utilize a standard-style triangular patch in order to afford officers increased presence and to help the many new residents and New York City commuters identify Summit officers. Then, in the 1970s, a citywide contest was held in order to solicit proposals for a new patch design. The design selected reflected the rich history of the city and memorialized the important role Summit played in securing our country's freedom during the Revolutionary War. The chain of signal beacons. During the Revolutionary War, General George Washington needed an effective early warning system to protect inland Continental Army positions, particularly Morristown, from British forces operating out of New York City. A chain of 23 numbered signal beacons was established along prominent ridgelines across New Jersey, especially the Watchung Mountains. Summit's beacon, number 10, occupied an ideal position because of its elevation and direct visibility eastward toward British approaches through Elizabeth, then Elizabethtown, and westward towards the continental interior. Signal beacon number 10. The Summit's beacon primary purpose was simple but critical: to detect British troop movement, alert local militia, provide Washington's forces time to mobilize, coordinate defensive responses along the Watchung Line, and this was 18th century rapid communication, fire as a military alarm system. What the beacon looked like. Contrary to the common mental image of a small torch or a lamp, this was a substantial structure. Washington's beacon specifications generally called for a pyramid-shaped log construction, approximately 16 to 18 feet square at the base, around 20 feet high, with the interior packed with brush and combustibles. In reviewing, doing some research, I saw on the Beacon Hill Club actually reports on their website that the Summit's beacon also included a tree in the center with a tar barrel on top. When ignited, the structure would create an intense blaze visible for miles. This was meant to be unmistakable, not symbolic. So we spoke about this a little bit. The old sow, sow, the hoof, what do we got? The old sow? The old sow. The Summit beacon was paired with a cannon locally as the old sow. The cannon served as an audible warning signal, while the beacon served as the visual signal. Combined, they created a dual alarm system. Fire beacon was visible across long distances, and the cannon blast immediate local warning to Minutemen and residents. The nickname Old Sow reportedly came from the cannon's squat appearance and the way it sat in the earth. Summit's local revolutionary history strongly ties the cannon and beacon together. The Summit beacon stood where it is now, 226 Hobart Avenue, Summit, New Jersey. This location marked the crest near the Hobart Gap Corridor, a strategically vital pass through the Watchung Mountains. Any British force attempting to move inland toward Morristown would likely use this route. A commemorative marker remains there today. The British are coming. On June 6, 1780, a local farmer and militiaman, Richard Swain, fired the warning cannon known as the Old Sow. By the way, in reviewing a little bit more of the history of the police department, our second police chief from 1901 to 1901 was actually William Swain. My assumption is they were related. We tried to pull his old personnel file, but we don't hold background investigations that long. The cannon blast was intended to alert both local militia forces and General George Washington's Continental Army at Jockey Hollow in Morristown that approximately 6,000 British and Hessian troops had landed in Elizabethtown, which is modern Elizabeth, and were advancing inland. The British objective was clear: move through Continental Farms, which is now Union, and Springfield, pass through the Hobart Gap, and attack Washington's encampment in Morristown. The combined activation of the cannon and beacon provided the necessary warning system that gave Patriot forces critical time to mobilize. The Battle of Connecticut Farms. First invasion, the Battle of Connecticut Farms, is June 7th, the day after 1780. The British advanced into Connecticut Farms, burning much of the settlement, including the Presbyterian Church. One of the most infamous acts was killing of Hannah Caldwell, wife of Patriot preacher Reverend James Caldwell, whose death became a rallying point for the Patriots' cause. Although destruction was significant, the British were forced to retreat. On the Battle of Springfield, approximately 3 weeks later, on June 23, 1780, reinforced by another 2,000 troops, the British tried again. This time they reached Springfield, burning nearly the entire town. American militia and Continental forces successfully repelled the attack. Following this defeat, British forces withdrew to New York. This marked the last major British offensive in the northern colonies during the Revolutionary War. As we reflect, it is easy to pass locations like the plaque on Hobart. It is easy to pass those locations without fully appreciating what occurred there centuries ago. But this site represents more than a local landmark. It reflects Summit's direct connection to the struggle for American independence. The significance of this beacon was not that a battle was fought here in Summit. Its importance was that Summit's geography allowed patriots to see danger coming, communicate that danger quickly, and give defenders precious time to prepare. In warfare, particularly in the 18th century, those moments could change the outcomes. That is a rendition, a painting from the early 1800s of a view of the Summit Beacon number 10 from the Carter House. And that is our current patch today. I printed out and put it in the box.
Thank you, Chief. Just one thing. So there's a legend that Hannah, who he just mentioned, haunts the courthouse in Elizabeth.
Yes, it's true.
And I will tell you, I clerked there, and I had some late nights there, and there's some funny stuff going on there, including inexplicable elevators just showing up and leaving. But
Her picture, her portrait stands in one of the, I think, the clerk of the board's office, and they straighten it up all the time, and when they come in the morning, it's crooked again. She's there.
Okay.
spooky.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to figure out how that segues into the first of our two presentations this evening. Chief Evers is from our fire department, is going to, he recently attended the National Firefighters Memorial Weekend and would like to give a presentation based on that, Chief.
Thank you, appreciate the time. Just can do a quick little background on the foundation, and we'll show a little video at the end. So, the National Fallen Fire Defense Foundation was officially established by Congress in 1992 through a Fire Administration Authorization Act that George W. Bush signed into legislation into law on October 26, 1992. The foundation is created to honor and remember firefighters who died in line of duty, through supporting their families, and work to reduce preventable firefighter deaths and injuries. It became the official organization responsible for the National Fallen Firefighter Service, which began in 1991 and takes place every year since. The memorial service is held in Emmitsburg, Maryland in May, the home of the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, Fire Academy, and U.S. Fire Administration. It is also the site of the National Fallen Fighters Memorial. The foundation also provides a varied assistance program to families of fallen firefighters and the fire service, such as scholarship programs for kids, support camp for kids, family heroes networking for all the spouses. The Everyone Goes Home program, developed by the foundation, is aimed at reducing firefighter deaths through 16 life-saving initiatives through safety, health, and culture change in the fire service. And also the Taking Care of Your Own program, which helps fire departments prepare for the worst, of line-of-duty death and serious injury. In the past 20 years, the Summit Fire Department has proudly sent a team down to the Memorial Weekend to provide operational and logistical support. Teams from all over the country arrive on Wednesday morning and start to transform the Academy grounds for preparation for the National Fallen Firefighter Service, which takes place on Sunday. This year, we honored 97 firefighters who died in 2025 and 107 who died in illnesses and injuries sustained in previous years. The weekend starts Friday evening with a welcoming reception for the families at the hotels that host the families. Saturday, the family visit the memorial, the academy, and attend a candlelight vigil Saturday night at the memorial. Sunday morning, the official memorial begins, and the plaque to the loved ones names are added to the memorial. With that, I'm going to show a quick video. That's about a 3.5 minute video. Part? Is it on there?
say in our firehouse, and everyone goes home. And we know the perils in our job every time we hear the tone. And on this day we fought a blaze, we did our job for lives were saved. But in the end I sacrificed my home. I hear bells in the distance, pipers playing a song for me, with flags are folded in our memory. I'm going home to Emmitsburg. They'll call my name in Emmitsburg, where cheers are shed and prayers are heard for the fallen and the brave. There is peace among the embers, a lightness in the air, as I float above the members of my station in despair. Through the smoke we face our fears, the lives we save to souvenirs. I go without regret, as I declare. I hear bells in the distance, pipers playing a song for me, where flags are folded in our memory. I'm going home to Emmitsburg. They'll call my name in Emmitsburg, where cheers are shed and prayers are heard for the fallen and the brave. And the families that we leave behind will gather where I'll be enshrined, along with all the others, and they'll see we're not alone. And the names carved in the monument, saying loud and confident, we'll never be forgotten, and we've made it safely home. I hear bells in the distance, pipers playing a song for me, when flags are folded in a memory. I'm going home to Emmitsburg. They'll call my name in Emmitsburg, where cheers are shed and prayers are heard for the fallen and the brave. And where cheers are shed and prayers are heard for the fallen and the brave.
Yeah, like again, I appreciate it's been one of my great honors as part of the Fire Service, being part of the organization. Throughout the year, Summit has gotten more and more involved in working with the foundation. We do a lot of operational support, part of the command staff. It's a great honor. And if you want to learn more about the foundation, you can visit them at www.fireheroes.org, learn about the program, the ways you can actually support the foundation. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief. And tonight, we are blessed with presentations. Next, we have Mimi Zukov and George Drosinos from the Recycling Advisory Committee to tell us how to recycle batteries safely.
Just a little arrow. That'll take you to the next page.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. Last summer, first of all, the Recycling Advisory Committees,
Yeah.
the Recycling Advisory Committees responsibility is twofold. We actively research programs that can help remove items from the waste stream to help us be more sustainably active in the city. And our other job is to help educate residents about sustainability. Last summer, the Department of Public Works asked to meet with me to see what the Recycling Advisory Committee could do to help spread information about the importance of proper battery recycling. So we did a lot of different things this year. We put together a great flyer, which will be in the presentation through the City Communications Office, and it was distributed. And we also released a video recently, happens to be of me, but we released a number of videos and our committee produced them to try to educate residents. And the idea came up in discussion that maybe we aren't reaching everyone in Summit because if you're following the Recycling Advisory Committee page or the Environmental Committee page, you might already be very tapped in, but it's very hard to reach everyone these days with so many variable ways of communicating. It's actually much harder than back in the day when I first came to Summit and we had a printed, the Independent Press, and it was very, very easy. Everyone read it and everybody could keep up. So the idea was floated that maybe I could do a presentation here at the council meeting in the hopes that it's a different audience that attends and listens from home and can learn something tonight about this very, very important topic. And I also want to thank George Drosinos. He's a member of my committee. He helped me put together this presentation. This is actually the first PowerPoint presentation I've ever done. So it shows you you're never too old to learn something new. So last February in 2025, there was a very, very bad fire at the transfer station. It was sudden and it was extremely hot. And from my conversations with the members of the transfer station staff and Department of Public Works, it was the hottest fire they'd ever seen in all their many combined years in the field of disposal. And it destroyed part of the transfer station steel infrastructure and a very large tractor trailer, which you can see burning. And the only reason it didn't burn the entire upper structure down is a very quick-thinking member of the staff of the transfer station somehow pulled that truck out of the bay. But the truck was burned, and thankfully no one was hurt. But if you've been to the transfer station, if you've noticed that one of the pits has been out of operation for a very long time, it's because of this fire. It is our contention that it was a fire caused by someone throwing a rechargeable battery into the pit, and probably not even realizing it was a rechargeable battery and how dangerous it is. And they ignite very, very easily, especially when put under pressure. The net cost to the city for the loss of this trailer after insurance is $163,000. And as I said, loss of a whole pit for 1.5 years because the new tractor trailer won't be delivered till the end of 2026. This happened in Camden in 2025. A lithium-ion battery was improperly sent to a shredding facility, and the fire burned for 8 hours, requiring evacuation of residents. We really don't want something like that to happen in Summit or anywhere. But from my understanding, every recycling plant, every trash disposal facility has had fires like this in the past few years, and it's everyone's greatest fear. So this is the flyer that we put together with the help of the communications department. There's a lot of information on it because it's really a very complex topic. Rechargeable batteries are considered hazardous waste, and they must be carefully and properly disposed of. They are extremely flammable and can start fires when placed in your household trash or in the pit at the transfer station. To dispose of rechargeable batteries, bring them to the upper level of the transfer station and place them on the electronics recycling shelf on the upper levels to the right. The thing is, you may wonder, oh, why isn't there just a bin somewhere where it's easier for me to drop them off? The problem is, if you drop them in a bin, they can ignite. They are that flammable. The transfer station staff is extremely careful about how they even move them around, and they are fearful that something like that could easily happen. So there's a picture of a number of different things that you might not even think about that have rechargeable batteries in them. We all know phones and tablets do, but laptops, Bluetooth headphones, smartwatches, but the real dangers are the larger things like the e-bikes and the e-scooters, some power tools, cordless vacuums, very, very commonly get thrown into the pit, and our guys climb in to retrieve them. If you wonder why they're watching you when you're dumping in the pit, that is why. They have to climb in and retrieve it, and they have to pay very close attention, because if it misses their view, it could be very, very, very tragic. So there's a number of things, they're all listed here. But basically, if you plug it in to recharge it, it cannot be disposed in the trash. It's really very, very simple. The different kinds of rechargeable batteries are lithium ion, nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride, and nickel zinc. And when they are recycled, these heavy metals, these very precious metals, are stripped out and reused. So it really, truly is recycling. And if you're concerned about all the things we read about the source of these metals and child labor in faraway countries, this is a way to at least utilize these resources again and again until they can no longer be used. These are some commonly overlooked examples, especially children's things. You can't believe every children's toy seems to have a battery in it. And personally, I would rather you put something on the recycling shelves that doesn't have the right kind of battery that requires that level of care than to miss it. The hoverboards are a big one. That's a very big battery. The Jeeps the kids ride around on, it's a very big battery. It's almost as big as a car battery. So this is just to show you where exactly the disposal is. It's on the upper level. As you back in, it'll be on your left, but it's on the right side of the building. It's these shelves. And that's where it all goes. Just place it on the shelves. Anywhere on the shelves, that's where recyclable batteries go. If you don't want to take it to the transfer station, you can take it to a Union County hazardous waste collection. There are some retailers that also collect batteries. Last time we checked, Home Depot and Staples did. There are some others. This is a national campaign, Avoid the Spark. Be battery safety smart. It is my greatest fear that someone will throw one of these batteries in their trash, their household trash. It'll get picked up by our workers. It'll go into the truck. It'll get compressed, and the truck will burst into flames. And God forbid, someone could be killed. We really have to take care of our very, very hardworking city staff. The DPW workers are so dedicated to their work. I've gotten to know most of them through my position. And I am in awe of how hard they work to try to keep our city safe and sustainable. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Are there any questions from members of the audience? And then please come up and speak into the microphone so we can all hear your question.
I was just wondering if there was any education of kids in schools, because I'm thinking about what happened with seatbelts. Kids were really the catalyst for getting people to wear seatbelts.
Could you just state your name and address?
Oh, Liz Scholer, 30 Essex Road, Skoler. Thanks.
It's a very good suggestion. We can refer it to our Green Schools Committee. I do know that flyer did go out to all the students in the District of Summit. So whether the parents read it or not, I don't know. I don't think there's a particular part of the curriculum that goes over this. It would be a worthwhile educational experience, I think. Thank you for the suggestion.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Pulowski.
What about regular run-of-the-mill batteries?
Regular alkaline batteries. So they used to be considered hazardous waste. From my understanding, they have cut back on the amount of heavy metals in them to the point where it's no longer considered hazardous waste and they can go in your household trash. I don't particularly like that idea either, but that's how it goes. There are some places that you can take alkaline batteries. We do have some information on the Beyond the Basics flyer that's on the city website under Recycling Advisory Committee. It's worth a try, but technically, from all my reading, it's not really a hazard to our health or safety.
So not at the dump?
They can go in your regular household trash.
Okay, but there's no place to recycle them at the dump?
No. There's no recycling facilities that take them anymore, from what I understand.
That it? Thank you, and I want, beyond this very important message, I want to echo what Mimi said about the Recycling Advisory Committee has issued a whole series of videos, I hope they keep coming, called Recycling Right. I thought I knew my recycling do's and don'ts. I have learned a lot. The most recent video, on a much lighter note than these batteries, but the most recent video has been about how to opt out of that advertising circular we all get every week. And city clerk reports to me that since that video went out, upwards of 300 people have opted out. So
You can
let's.
thank Stacy Allen, too.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Stacy Ellen.
I know from all the emails.
I opted out several years ago, best thing I ever did. But so please keep all this fabulous information coming. It's really been a big help to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. I think you're off AV duty, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, so we can move on to ordinances for introduction. Madam Clerk, would you please read ordinance for introduction number is that 550? My eyes are getting tired.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ordinance of the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey, authorizing the subdivision of municipal property known as Block 1702, Lot 48, and authorizing the subsequent transfer of subdivided portion of municipal property no longer needed for public use by private sale to duly incorporated nonprofit organization.
Thank you. Councilmember Crisafulli.
Thank you, Council President. Ordinance ID 12550 would authorize a subdivision of city property for use by a nonprofit organization to construct and operate a group home for special needs individuals. This home is proposed to be located at 701 Springfield Avenue, fulfilling a requirement under the terms of Summit's Affordable Housing Agreement from December 23, 2025. Once again, we are under court scrutiny for implementation of that December agreement, and changing the elements of that agreement would put Summit at risk of overdevelopment. I move to introduce this ordinance for hearing on June 3rd.
I'll be seconding the ordinance only so that it moves to public hearing, not because I support it, but with that, I second.
Okay. Thank you. May I have a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Mr. Crisafulli?
Yes.
Ms. Kaminson?
Aye.
Ms. Landman?
Aye.
Ms. Laceracina?
Aye.
Mr. Pulowski?
Aye.
President Toth.
Aye. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read the ordinance for introduction number 12561?
Ordinance of the City of Summit, County of Union, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 35 of the City Code entitled Development Regulations, subsection 35-9.2, Prohibited Uses.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Crisafulli.
And thank you, Council President. Ordinance ID 12561 would add a prohibited use to the city code. Summit residents have raised concerns about what they see in the news in other municipalities in our area, facing infrastructure and environmental problems related to overdevelopment of commercial properties for the purposes of data centers and detention centers. We have a couple of sites in Summit that could be large enough for these types of developments. A risk that is emerging because of the sale of BMS's property on Upper Morris Avenue. And we have a very strong desire to prevent these unwanted developments here. So we're proposing a few ordinances in coming weeks to clarify the city's development regulations. The first one, which we're introducing tonight, adds a prohibited use for carceral facilities to the city code, which currently lists other prohibited uses, including the trade in marijuana and cannabis. I move to introduce this ordinance for hearing on June 16th.
Second.
Okay, would you please read the roll, Madam Clerk?
Council President. I know.
Councilmember Boyer, we
understand
do
it's
not
no-
comment
no,
on
I understand
the
there's no
introduction
comment.
of ordinance.
I'd
So
like
this
to
is
make
not a comment?
I'd like to make a motion, though.
Okay, yes.
And, our city solicitor, I can make a motion, correct?
Yes.
There was already a motion and a second?
Yes.
Yes, you can make.
Yes, okay, thank you. I just wanted to explain my motion really quickly. This ordinance that you have right here, I know that Councilman Christofouli just said something about AI data centers, but I think that we should add them to this right now. Now, I don't know if the public knows this, but there's a company called CoreWeave, headquartered in Livingston, just over in Essex County, and they have purchased a 280,000 square foot former Merck laboratory building, 27 acres of parcel for $322 million. They are converting it into a 40 megawatt data center at a total project cost of $1.8 billion. The property is part of a larger former Merck world headquarters campus, and it was repurchased by a developer called Onyx Equities. The pattern is straightforward. Pharmaceuticals R&D campus no longer needed by its original tenant, sold to a developer, then to a data center. I think every member of this council and every resident in this room ought to take a hard look at this pattern, because it is about to become directly relevant to Summit. Bristol-Myers Squibb has put its $1.2 million square foot life science campus at 5556 Morris Avenue on the market. That's 88 acres, 9 buildings. The listing materials drafted by JLL expressly notes that the existing campus infrastructure already includes some data center space. BMS plans to lease back 5 of the 9 buildings for a short period while the new owner rests there. We do not yet know who that new owner will be, and we do not yet know what they intend to do with the parts of the property that they will be leasing to BMS. But we have a near perfect comparable, 15 minutes away, sitting in front of us, a pharmaceutical campus that lost its original tenant and that was repurchased by Onyx Equities and is now hosting one of the largest AI data center investments in the state. Summit does not need to wait until a buyer is announced and a plan is filled to know what could happen here. The market is telling us in plain language what these properties are now being repurposed for. So I make a motion to amend this ordinance to add data centers to the list.
Second.
Then how do we?
We should vote on the first motion, correct? To introduce the ordinance, and then the second motion to amend it.
No, you
No?
would just vote on this amendment.
Okay.
If the amendment passes, then you take a vote as amended. If the amendment fails, you take a vote on the original
Okay,
version.
okay.
May I ask a
So
clarifying?
we're taking a vote on the amended ordinance,
Just on the on whether to amend. it.
whether to amend the ordinance. Okay.
And Councilmember Laceracina has a question.
Councilman Boyer, this is the first I've heard you raise this issue, so I'm wondering, do you have specific language that we can react to? Have you done research, or benchmarking? I think this is something that many of us would be open to considering, but I think we would want to sit with we would want to talk to our land use manager, consult with our city solicitor, unless you've already done that work.
Yeah, I think it's clear that you have marijuana shops there. You have the detention facilities there. I think it's as easy as putting data centers there. So I think it's clear. The work that I have done is the municipalities, even right next door to us, Kenilworth and Livingston, they are going through the exact same thing that we will be going through soon. And I don't think that there's any time to waste unless we want a data center here in Summit. So I personally don't want a a detention facility, whether that's county, state, or federal in Summit. And I surely don't want a data center here in Summit as well. I mean, I live across the street from the Overlook Hospital, and once a week, that generator turns on, and it rocks my house. And I watched a bunch of videos, and yeah, I did a lot of reading on this, and the city of Summit can't afford to have this. And I really would, it would be a dreadful situation for this to be in our town and for the residents who would live next to it 24 hours a day, vibration. It's horrible. Now, we could wait another 2 or 3 months, but why not just do it right now?
I agree.
I have a fast question for our solicitor. I mean, so far, everything has been posed in the form of a question. Do we vote without debate? Can we ask questions of each other before we vote?
I think so, because that's your own procedure. The
Okay.
city.
Wanted to be sure
Maybe
because
check with Rosie.
Council
With-
President, I
yes.
recall the last time this happened that council members were allowed to explain their vote, not discuss. Am I correct?
I think
Do you
that's what we
recall that?
did with the Maple Street
Yes.
one. Yeah.
because I personally had a very procedural question, which is, I had not noticed until late in the game that the hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for June 16th,
Right.
not June 3rd. So is it possible to draft an ordinance specific to data centers for introduction on June 3rd and a vote and a hearing on June 16th?
The reason why there was the delayed hearing is because the development ordinance has to be reviewed by the planning board.
You're
for
correct.
master
Thank
plan
you. Thank you.
consistency.
But that's before June 3rd, is it not?
I'm not sure when the next planning board meeting is.
It's the end of the month.
Though the last Monday is,
It's being postponed.
That's
There's a
it.
change in date for the
Planning board has
meeting.
35 days to
Yes.
review.
If the planning board doesn't respond within 35 days,
Okay.
then the city
Okay.
can make its own
Thank you.
decision on the hearing.
Through you, Council President, I have a question for the city solicitor.
okay, thank you, yes.
And if we don't put data centers in this particular ordinance, then we would then have to submit to the planning board once again if we drafted another ordinance and wait another 35 days?
Yes, and I may recommend to do that because the changes proposed by this ordinance are specific to recommendations made in the master plan reexamination report from 2016. I didn't know about the data center request, or else I would have done some research into what was stated in the 2016 reexamination report to support that change. So it'd just be
How do you define a data center?
that.
Right.
That's through me, Councilmember Crisafulli.
Yeah. I mean, any lawyer would need to define how many square footage, there's already a data center there. You know, it's not just all data centers, you know.
Okay.
We need a little definition here. Right.
Okay, I think we've asked our questions. So.
Shall we go with the vote?
Yes, shall we
This
go
is-
with the vote?
This is on the vote whether or not
is-
to amend the ordinance.
Is this a question, Councilmember Pulowski?
I'd like to comment on what we're doing
We
here.
don't have comments at this point. We can explain our votes, which is a comment, which is as close to a comment. I mean, we were asking questions.
Okay, I have a question then.
Yes, Alex. Data centers for 200.
Well, Alex only gave the answers, right? So, it's not without precedent that we pause a meeting to draft language, right? I mean, we did that last year when Michelle proposed a resolution or an amendment to a resolution from the floor, and given the time constraints, would it be that hard? Do we need that much research?
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
we could look up one from another municipality that was done recently. I think there have been at least 4 in the past month.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Madam Clerk, let's...
Is there an answer?
I mean, that's up to the council. What, sorry.
June 4th is next.
So I'm being told that the next planning board meeting is June 4th. We have another council meeting on June 3rd. If we introduced another ordinance to add this additional change, they could review it at their June 4th meeting as well, since they're already doing they're going to be, if the ordinance passes, for introduction, they're going to be doing a master plan consistency review of this ordinance, and we could throw in another one.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Does that preempt your question, Councilmember Laceracina?
I get this is more of just a curiosity, but I'm wondering, Councilman Boyer, this seems something that you're very passionate about, and I think this is something we're all interested in pursuing, but I'm curious as to why you would wait until the moment of the meeting. It sounds like you've done some research. Why would this not have been something that you would have at least broached to our city solicitor?
Okay. Let's move to the vote. That's an interesting side conversation.
Let him answer.
We can explain our votes.
May I ask a question about timing, just from a procedural perspective? There's no need to notice an ordinance in advance of the planning board? So in other words, if it happens on the 3rd at the next meeting, it's
Rosie
okay
would
to
just,
get on the,
Rosie would
on
just.
the agenda for the planning board?
We'll be in touch with them, but Rosie would forward whatever was introduced to the planning board
They're setting
secretary.
that agenda now, however.
But that's what I'm
Okay.
saying, so
Yeah,
I think.
that's
don't
what
Well, we
I'm
could give them a
understanding
heads up
they're
that that's what we're anticipating.
And the agenda for June 3rd is going to be set this week.
Yes.
So we can work in tandem with the planning board.
Yes, I can communicate that to the planning board, the liaison, Augusta, at
Okay.
land use.
I'm gonna make sure we
Okay.
follow the rules, that's all.
Okay. I think we finally get to vote on the amendment.
Mr. Boyer?
Aye.
Mr. Crisafulli?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what we're voting on here. I'm a little confused.
We are voting on Councilmember Boyer's amendment to add data centers to
Those two
the proposed ordinance.
Literally the words?
Yeah, to the ordinance.
So,
Where?
We're going to include them in the list.
so I raised in my introduction my interest in regulating and prohibiting data centers, but we need to understand, how do you define a data center? And I think we need to have the definition based on standard practices and square footage. There's already existing data centers on the site, and we may be, doing something unintended here. So we want to, I think what I want to exclude are the large ones that we see descending on our neighboring towns. But we don't want to do unintended damage here to small data rooms, if you will. So I vote no on the amendment with the interest in having a robust ordinance for the next council meeting.
Ms. Kalmanson?
I agree. I don't want to see data centers here in Summit, but I want to make sure we get this right, and I want to make sure we let the city staff do their job and make sure that we get it get it right, and we're not just adding on and then missing something really important. So for that reason, I will be voting no.
Councilmember Lamon?
For the reasons Councilmembers Crisafulli and Kalmanson have already articulated, I vote no on the amendment.
Councilmember Laceracina?
I vote no on the amendment. Not clear on what we're even responding to, and when we rush in this way, this is when mistakes get made. So I vote no.
Councilmember Pulaski?
Yes.
President Toth?
I too am voting no, specifically because we have time to introduce a data center-specific ordinance with a hearing and a passage date of June 16th, so that we can be sure we've got it right, and with no time delay for what would happen if we amended it tonight. And I wouldn't want to diagram that sentence.
All righty. So that was.
That was 2 in favor, 5 opposed?
Correct.
So I think now we move on to a roll call vote on the introduction of the ordinance as originally proposed.
Councilmember Boyer?
I will vote to move this forward, but again, I think that it should be amended, but yay.
Councilmember Crisafulli?
Aye.
Councilmember Calmison?
Aye.
Councilmember Lamon?
Aye.
Councilmember La Saracena?
Aye.
Councilmember Pulaski?
No comments, right?
I'm sorry?
No comments on this, Claire?
No. Unless your vote, you want to explain your vote.
Aye.
President Toth?
Aye. Okay, motion passes, and I believe now we are on to resolutions, and I've just lost my place. But I believe the first resolution is lawn labor. Thank you so much, Councilmember La Saracena.
Thank you, Council President. Resolution 12571 relates to a tolling agreement that's been proposed between the City of Summit and FGM. This relates to litigation around who should bear certain costs associated with the construction of our new firehouse. The tolling agreement is a procedural agreement that allows us to pause certain claims that had been pursued amongst the City of Summit and FGM so that these parties can work together to pursue certain other claims. I apologize, it is indeed very confusing, and it's kind of an esoteric procedural matter. But what this achieves, if it passes, is that we can work collaboratively with FGM but still preserve our ability to pursue claims against them in the future without losing time during the statute of limitations. So this tolls the statute of limitations and again preserves those future claims. Collaboration will be at FGM's cost and expense. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
With that explanation, do we have any comments from members of the public on this resolution? Do we have any comments from members of council? Okay. Then all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Back to you, Councilmember La Saracena.
Thank you, Council President. This next resolution, 12572, relates to the old firehouse site. Prior resolution related to the new firehouse site. Now we're back to the old site. The sale of the old firehouse site to the contract purchaser, K&K or Garden Homes, has failed to close. Last week, the contract purchaser informed the city that they are withdrawing from the transaction. This site is obviously a very valuable community asset, and this is a very disappointing outcome. The city staff, the council, and the mayor worked together and did earnest work with K&K to try to get this deal done. We have not gotten official communication from K&K on their reasons for withdrawing. There is deposit money that was paid by K&K that is in escrow, and we will of course pursue those funds. Because this is such a valuable community asset, we want to make sure that we move forward responsibly. When things are rushed, mistakes often get made. We are tabling the resolution to rebid for this evening. We need time to, for example, gather new comps and make sure that we set an appropriate minimum bid for the property. We will share more information in the weeks ahead. So I move that we table this resolution for this evening.
Second.
Okay. Then, Madam Clerk, would you, let's see.
Are you requesting
Is this a roll, or can we just do up and down?
Unless you request it. It
Okay.
can be a voice vote.
Okay.
Do we don't get to comment on a motion to table?
I think you should invite everybody to come.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you. Do we have comments from members of the public on this motion to table?
Good evening. Nora Radis, 18 Blackburn Place. And once again, thank you for your service. So where are you going, guys? This has been a long time coming, and I am not unaware of what's going on here. And I really, really, really encourage all of you to be very serious about providing what needs to be done for this community. A lot of people in this room and some on this dais were against the Broad Street West redevelopment. So here we are. We got nothing. I urge you to do what's best for this community, because it's not happening yet. And I am very aware of how things had happened. So please, I beg you to do what's best for our town. Thank you.
Anything else?
Karen Venturella, 14 Lewis Avenue, Summit. I don't know if I should ask this question, but I was at an earlier council meeting where they talked about there was a realtor for this sale, and there was a commission for that realtor. Is there any cost incurred by the sale failing? I guess that's my question.
Thank you.
Hi, Mike McTiernan, Blackburn Road. Thank you all for your service and basically volunteering to be up here. Just on this, there have been, I know, questions about what's been going on with the closing, and every comment is, we're dealing with the lawyers, we can't tell. I think that the community deserves a clear reckoning of why the sale never closed. What was the issue? Nobody knows. No one has been forthcoming with any of this. This is a $5-odd million piece of property, and it's been canceled, and crickets as to why. And I think the community should have answers on that. Thank you.
Anything else? May I go ahead and answer, Ms.? May I go ahead and answer the resident's question? Yeah.
With guidance of the attorney, of course.
The contract that the city entered into with the real estate broker said that if there was no closing, there was no commission. Okay. I suspect that Councilmember Pulowski is going to want a voice vote.
Yeah, yes, please.
Council President, are we giving comments from council members on this?
We can explain our votes.
Okay.
So, Madam Clerk, would you call the
Mr.
roll?
Boyer. Voting to table.
Did you go already, Bob? I didn't
No.
hear
Alphabetical order.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think that we should move forward and put this property on sale as soon as possible. And this is what this is for. So I like to see this move forward. I think if we keep delaying it, there are some concerns about different regulations and things like that. So we should move forward. I know the former mayor came up and said she's aware of what's going on. I wish you would elaborated on that, because I don't know. It's par for the course these days. But I think that it's incumbent upon us to sell this property as soon as possible. So I would like to say nay for tabling.
Mr. Crisafulli?
So very briefly, I also support expediting the sale of the property, but concerns with the current broker and other issues. And also, I'm not going to make any more specific questions, but I believe things should move forward as practically possible. So I'm voting aye to table.
Ms. Kalmanson?
Aye.
Ms. Landman?
As a resident, I'm super frustrated because this property has been in limbo for years, from Broad Street West to the sale by last year's council. As a council member, we spent months as a team working to get this supposed as-is deal from December done. Last year's council members called it a gift, but it turned out to be anything but. All of us worked hard to get this deal closed, so it is very disappointing to get this outcome. And I agree, Mr. McTurnan, that we should share more information with the public. We have nothing to hide. On the bright side, now we have a clean slate. We have a tremendous city asset. We've balanced the budget without the sale. Council has work to do, as we've said, to figure out the best and most efficient way to realize the full potential of this asset. And at this time, we will not celebrate until the deal is done and the check is cleared, so to speak. So in the meantime, I vote to table this resolution.
Ms. Saracena?
Again, this is a very valuable community asset. We need to move forward responsibly. We are the stewards who have been entrusted with the protection of this property. We found out that the contract purchaser was withdrawing late last week. We have not yet had an opportunity, for example, to see if we need to do a bring down of the appraisal for the property. We've not had the opportunity to pull new comps for the property. I think it would be wildly irresponsible to move forward on a move that sets a minimum bid when I could not tell you in good faith that I have confidence in any number. This is not my area of expertise. We need to call in the experts, tap the brakes a little bit, and move forward in a responsible manner. For those reasons, I vote aye to table.
Mr. Pulaski?
I'd also like to know what Mayor Radis is very aware of. I haven't talked to her about this, but we need to get this back on the market as soon as possible. We've considered this measure for several council meeting cycles. The work is done. We have comps, right? We just got a bunch of bids on it. So unless somebody thinks that we could go in and get an appraisal and the amount would be way higher, I don't know why we have to wait. Councilwoman Landman just complained that this has been taking too long, yet she wants to wait. I remember it was like pulling teeth trying to get that appraisal over the past year, and who knows how long it could take this time. I vote no on tabling the motion because I think we should put it on the market as soon as possible.
President Tuck?
Okay, I vote yes to table the motion. Based on the discussion in closed session, I believe that we can all support an improved resolution by the end of next month, which has next to no effect on the timing and certainly no effect on next year's budget. And let's take a beat and do it right. So with that, I think the noes are 5, the yeas are 2, excuse me. So that motion is tabled, and we move on to community programs and parking services. Councilmember Kalmanson.
Thank you, Council President. This is Resolution ID 12553, and this resolution authorizes the co-op purchase for security cameras at Upper and Lower Tatlock Fields for $78,479.37.
Wait, did we vote on the? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any comments from members of the public on this resolution? Do we have any comments from members of the council? Yes, Councilmember Pulaski.
Thank you. So I am very happy that this resolution is on the agenda this week. You know, in the community, there continues to be a lot of talk and questions regarding when are we going to get the lights up? Does council intend to revise the light usage ordinance? I hope not. I think we should give the current ordinance a chance, and if this council does come to a consensus that they want to change something, I would hope that we do it transparently, like Councilman Smallwood and I did over the past couple of years. But I, of course, will be voting yes on this security camera purchase. It's one of several elements of Tatlock Lights that is important to the residents in that neighborhood, and former Councilman Smallwood and I made sure to include it in the ordinance. As for when we'll start using the lights, I'm told that a fellow council member recently blamed me at a listening session when asked why the lights aren't on yet, because I was in charge of the aforementioned cameras, and I'm the one that put that requirement in the ordinance. And I definitely did insist that we put this in the ordinance, along with other carefully considered safeguards based on many hours of resident consultation and thoughtful consideration of all the issues. Though I'm not aware that I was ever in charge of ordering cameras, I will say that I became frustrated with the lack of movement on the issue from other committees, and I asked Chief Peters to help out, which he did, and I thank you for that. In the end, we got an acceptable quote from a state-approved vendor within our budget, and we're approving that contract tonight. So I vote yes.
Other comments?
Through you, Council President.
Councilmember Boyer.
Yeah, when I think of cameras, I thought it was in another committee, so I had a flashback. Another hurdle we got through, all to push to get these lights on so that the kids can play in the fall. I think this was another example of how we all pulled together to get this done. So this came up as a hurdle, and we jumped over it. So I'm excited to move this forward, and I vote yes.
Okay. I will just note that typically when we're spending this kind of money, we have to go out and request bids from various vendors, but we belong to a state co-op purchasing organization that allows us to buy certain things without going through that process. It's speedier, and we still get a really great price. We were able to do it this time. And with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Back to you, Councilmember Kalmanson.
Thank you, Council President. This is Resolution ID 12567, and this resolution will reestablish a Silver Summit Committee and allow council to appoint members. Thank you to Councilmember Laceracina for her thoughtfulness and reimagination of this committee. Whereas the original Silver Summit was made up of professionals that serve the senior community, Silver Summit 2.0, as we've been informally calling it, will be made up of senior citizens and establish a direct communication line to council to understand the challenges, needs, and wants from our senior community. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Do we have any comments from members of the public? Any comments from members of council? Okay, I am sorry. Yes, Councilmember Laceracina, it is your baby.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, but I'm really excited and appreciate the partnership of Councilmember Kalmanson in reimagining this group. So we did, as Councilmember Kalmanson mentioned, have a prior version of Silver Summit that, as I understand it, was meant to help ensure that we didn't have gaps in supportive services to our senior citizens. So it included primarily representatives from nonprofit organizations and other organizations that serve our senior citizens. It was a very ambitious goal, and a prior council ultimately determined that it was in the interest of the city to wind that group down. But it did then lead to some interesting conversation, and I'm really excited to see this new iteration and the evolution of this group, it's really meant to be a formalized focus group, right? And to establish, hopefully with permanency, a direct line of communication between members of our more mature neighbors and council, so that on a regular basis we're talking about the experience of our senior citizens and in what ways local government can better be serving them. So again, I appreciate the partnership and I'm hopeful that this will move forward. And if so, then please stay tuned for opportunities on how to apply and be a member of the group.
Any other comments?
Can I make one more? Can I make one? So just a point of clarification, the prior Silver Summit, I think, was brought about to help coordinate the various groups in town that help our seniors during COVID. And that's why it was wound down, but I fully support this new version of Silver Summit.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Let's move to capital projects and community services. Councilmember Crisafulli.
Thank you so much, Council President. Resolution ID 12555 authorizes the placement of a Victory Town marker on the village green, and the location we discussed at CAPS will be close to the train station in commemoration of our local contribution to America's War of Independence. On Revolutionary Trail Day in April, our town hosted a very fun event, complete with a Tory soldier and singing pirates. We learned that bread ovens were constructed around the area where the municipal golf course is currently to feed the Continental Army as they moved toward final victory in Virginia. They marched through our area. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any comments from members of the public? Any comments from members of council? Councilmember Crisafulli.
So I was just going to say, I do have an ancestor that was in the Continental Army, and I hesitate to say that because it can come off as arrogant, but it's something I'm very proud of. Thank you.
Good for you. Okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay. Then we get to move on to the consent agenda.
Council
And-
President, through you.
Yes, Councilmember Landman.
I'd like to pull Resolution 12554 from the consent agenda to be voted on separately, as Councilmember La Saracena will be abstaining from a vote on that one resolution.
Thank you. Okay. But that's to be voted on separately. We don't have to pull it from the
Okay,
general
sorry. Yeah.
conversation. No. I've learned that one. Do we have any comments from members of the public on any portion of the consent agenda? No.
I think you need a motion to
Oh.
approve the consent agenda.
Oh, thank you. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay. Now do we have, thank you, members of the public, for knowing you had to wait for that. Does anybody have a comment? No? Do we have comments from members of council on anything in the consent agenda?
Yeah.
Councilmember Boyer.
Council President, I know that Councilwoman La Saraceno is involved in the playground. We had went there to check it out and everything, but I'm sorry, I'm not understanding why she has to recuse herself.
Not a recusal, she's abstaining on that one vote.
Abstaining. from the
Abstaining.
vote, Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't understand why, like,
Ms. La Saracena?
I'm sorry, nobody talks to me, so that's why I'm like
No,
up here
no.
kind of like, asking.
I'm happy to speak over it. So you'll note in the resolution 12554, there's reference to the Lysanders Fund. In the spirit of transparency, that is our charitable family fund. It's a donor-advised fund, so we don't have direct control. We're able to make recommendations for donations, and then there's a third-party administrator who makes the ultimate decision and then would distribute the funds. Our family has been very blessed to live here, to be here in Summit. My life was saved here by our wonderful first responders. We have been looking for an opportunity to make an enduring gift to the community that has given us and continues to give us so much. So it's a kind of a weird combination of our last names, LaSaracine and Sanders. That's how we came up with the LaSanders Fund. And so I do want to make that clear, again, in the spirit of transparency. It's at the recommendation of our city solicitor that I abstain from the vote.
Through you, Council President. I didn't want to put you on the spot. I didn't know. So
I thought it was in the memo. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure out LaSanders. I get it now. Oh, okay. No, this is a great thing. Anytime a resident donates money for a project, whatever, yeah, I'm supportive of that. And thank you for it's going to be a nice playground.
I thought it was a French charity.
Any other comments? I just, before I was on council, I was on the zoning board for several years, and I know from my experience there that many of the lot sizes near the community center tend to be very small, and some of the residents have been frustrated that they're unable to put up so much as a swing set in the backyard without getting a variance. So having a walkable playground for the children is just an amazing addition to that part of town, which has been under playgrounded, if that's a word. But with all that, for almost all of the consent agenda, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. For ID number 12554, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Okay. The consent agenda is passed. Thank you so much. Wow. Almost a land speed record. So we can turn, and thank you to our city staff who, I think that's you, Chief Evers. We appreciate your time with us. You're free to stay, free to leave. But as we begin public comment, we ask that the residents step forward to speak first. We value input from everyone, and any member of the public is welcome to speak. We simply ask for your courtesy in allowing the local neighbors to lead the public discussion if they're prepared to speak first. And again, I remind you that to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and to leave any written comments with your name on the table. And thank you, former Mayor Radist.
You have the information.
Yes.
So I understand that council voted to open Maple Street for outdoor dining. And my question is, I have two questions, and I don't need them necessarily to be answered tonight, but I would hope, because I know you don't want to answer the questions tonight. I get that, having been there for 8 years. But I would like an email response. Number one, Mayor Fagan, have you signed the ordinance? That's my first question. I know Mrs. Lickities taught me, or very early on, that you sign the ordinance quickly or not. I first actually, as a quick anecdote, one of the first times I've disagreed. Mike, you were on council at the time. I disagreed, and it was a 5-2, and I said, I'm not signing this, jokingly. And she goes, what? I said, no, of course I'm going to sign it. Because, in fact, if I did not sign it, council could, I thought at the time, and I believe, could override it. So my question is, that second question is, does council, under Summit rules, under the charter, have the ability to override a mayor's veto? And I don't need the answer tonight. Okay. But please email me. Mm-hmm. And I also understand there's the other part of the statute, which authorizes you to implement or not the closure. And that's another whole statute. But look, there's one step at a time. Mm-hmm. So that's what I want to say. And again, as I said before, thank you all very much for your service.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hello.
Yeah.
Kim Leonard, 81 Beekman Road. Hi. I hope you'll give me a little bit of patience here, but I want to give a little Wilson Park minute for everyone. I've done a lot of research around Wilson Park. I live very close to the park. When I went down to the Historical Society, I found out that back in the day, the Wilson family had bought up all the parcels of land to now form what is Wilson Park. Her son has a letter at the Historical Society that he gave a little bit of background, and under threat of eminent domain, Ada Wilson deeded the property to the city of Summit. But in the deeds, she did provide riders. She was a very big advocate of green space. In fact, she had one of the biggest estates in Summit. She opened her home every year to the citizens of Summit. The public could come in and, walk around her property. So when I heard rumblings of subdividing Wilson Park, I went down to the city. I went to the tax office asking for the deeds, and they were not able to provide them. So I went to Elizabeth, and I pulled the deeds. No ghost at it when I went down, but I did pull 2 deeds. There's 9 parcels of land included in these deeds, and 2 of them have riders on them. Now, unfortunately, we don't know what the riders say because they're not attached to the deeds. But from my understanding from the people down in Elizabeth, the rider actually is housed in the title of the property. So what I'm asking the council is, are you and will you do a title search before you move this property to someone else and subdivide this property? We need to know what it says in these deeds. I think that's due diligence. And I'm sorry if it wasn't done before, but it needs to be done now before the property is moved. Do we have an answer?
To the extent we answer questions, we answer them all at the end.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your time.
Amy Roth, Manley Court. We have residents.
Could you speak directly into the microphone?
We have residents here today, and I really just wanted to introduce them to the people who have been working on our resolution solution. Mr. Boyer has been actively working on it and really pushing it ahead. Michelle Kalmanson is heads up the parking committee, and Claire Toth has been actively working with us as well. So these are the people who you can reach out to if needed. Thank you.
Thank you.
But for the record, Michelle was in charge, so.
Hi, Kelly Iacobelli, 151 Colonial Road. We've heard about the lights. We've heard about JCP&L working on the wiring. We've heard tonight about the cameras being ordered. I have confidence in those 2 things being done. We have not heard anything about the lawsuit that has been brought about by the neighbors in the area. The City Council did a great job meeting with the neighbors, heard their concerns and addressed many of them, and then voted and agreed upon a lighting usage policy. In negotiations, you never get everything you want. The neighbors were heard and restrictions were put in place. Now council is contemplating even further restrictions with regards to a lawsuit the neighbors have filed. If the city moves forward with settling the lawsuit, they will be opening up Pandora's box for many other neighborhoods to file lawsuits. For example, why shouldn't the neighbors around the Family Aquatic Center sue to restrict pool hours, to reduce noise from children and families playing? Why not restrict allowing swim meets on the weekends, mornings, to reduce noise pollution? Why not restrict float night as it causes noise at night when families are putting their kids to bed? This was one of the complaints from the Tatlock neighbors. Why shouldn't the neighbors around Memorial Field sue to restrict 4th of July activities? This causes traffic, closed streets, noise issues, crowd control, parking issues. Why shouldn't the neighbors say no to daytime activities and restrict it only in the evening? Why should they be inconvenienced? What about the neighbors around the high school? It goes on and on and on. Most residents know neighborhoods are not perfect, and you get the good with the bad. Neighborhoods work to minimize issues, not restrict our kids from playing sports in the evening. People choose to buy homes in a variety of neighborhoods in this town. Tatlock Park has had 2 sets of lights for many years, those around the tennis courts and those around the upper field. And for many who live there, the lights were there before they purchased their homes. But on the flip side, what an amazing amenity for the neighbors who live right there. They have a school, a playground, tennis courts, basketball courts, and fields to play on, an extension of their own backyard. I live right near the high school. We have had many parking issues on our street, and we dealt with them with our neighbors and had restrictions put in place. Is it perfect? No. But I knew I was buying a house across from the high school, which meant lots of traffic, but it also meant a short walk to school for my children. Again, there's pros and cons to living everywhere. Negotiations are just that. You get some, you don't get everything. The city needs to stand firm, or they will be opening themselves up for the lawsuits down the road. Just so residents want their money spent on more lawsuits. Please update the community on what is going on with the outstanding lawsuit. Thank you.
Thank you. If you've got the written thank you. Okay. Good evening.
Hi there. My name is Penelope Adams. I'm a resident at 287 Kent Place Boulevard, and I'm here to talk to you about an upcoming infrastructure project in front of our home, specifically a new sidewalk installation. We have a gorgeous 100-year-old Japanese maple in front of our house that several local tree services, including Crestview, Honor Tree, and Coviello's Landscaping, have told us would likely be killed if this project moves forward as planned. I've learned a lot about Japanese maples, and it turns out they have roots that are very, very shallow to the ground. They're not low down, and they spread well past the actual canopy of the tree. And they are very, very sensitive. Experts advise that these trees are unusually sensitive to disruption, and can even decline just from being pruned improperly. That's not your problem, that's my problem. However, a tree of this age it is truly irreplaceable, and I should note that every neighbor on our block shares this concern. I have been imploring the city engineers, the city arborist, anyone who will listen to do the sidewalk on the other side of the street, which is actually what the original proposal had been, which makes a lot more sense because my side of the street has all the telephone poles and the electrical wires and the communication wires. And so the project as it's envisioned now is going to be moving telephone poles and things. So I don't see how that makes sense. I've been in, as I've said, I've been in contact, with as many town officials as I can. I've written to the mayor. I've written to all of you individually. I've written to the Summit Shade Tree Council. I mean, the fact of the matter is that this tree, and this is all in your inbox, it probably won't survive the sidewalk. Now, the town engineer said, well, we'll use like a special blade that doesn't go too deep when we dig. It doesn't matter. The roots are right, at the top. And so we're going to be left with, the community is going to lose a beautiful, beautiful tree that I'm in the process of trying to landmark. And it's a very sad scenario, and I don't understand why everyone is so dead set on, just going forward with the project, even though I know a number of my neighbors have written to you all expressing, unhappiness with the project. And, so I'd like to know. Oh, Oh my God, I hit the timer. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else?
At the beginning of the meeting, Mayor Fagan mentioned that. Excuse me, Henry Bassman, 18 Hartley Road. The beginning of the meeting, Mayor Fagan mentioned that Monday is Memorial Day. I'd like to encourage people who are watching and anybody who's in the audience. One of the traditions of the Memorial Day parade is that veterans lead the parade. And that is open to all veterans of all generations and all services. If a veteran feels that he or she is not able to walk the route, there are going to be cars that veteran can ride in. And I instituted something about 12 years ago that veterans should bring their young children or young grandchildren so they can understand the credibility and the honor that's been given to their superiors, to their elders for their service. So the more veterans who show up, the better it'll be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike McTiernan again, 11 Blackburn Road. Henry, thank you for your service. Hey, I just want to also comment, like our former mayor did, about the ordinance from last council meeting. I was very impressed this evening with your guys' discussion around amending an ordinance from the floor. I agree that you should think about it more, so thank you for that thoughtful discussion. However, contrast that with 2 weeks ago, and you couldn't see a more, complete difference in what happened there. I had questions when I was reading the packet. You guys didn't pass an ordinance for council to close the street. That's not what happened. You basically just passed an ordinance to allow the mayor to close the street. Despite what the title said, because the underlying statute doesn't say what the title said. And I guess I'm curious, I know there's attorney-client privilege, so Ms. Brown probably can't answer, but you guys are the clients. Did anyone talk to her about that? It was clearly not ready for prime time. And if you did she give you an answer that said, yeah, this is great, go ahead? Because it clearly wasn't, yet it just got discussed. In fact, the statute says our mayor can close the street already. So you guys you had this whole meeting with all the staff and such for nothing. She can do it already. That's what the statute says. I super, though, appreciate the mayor's thoughtful comments on why it wasn't appropriate. I thought they were very well laid out, and we live in a town with 2 streets that go over the train tracks, and maybe, just maybe, because of that, Maple Street's not the appropriate street to close. You had every single person on the dais 2 weeks ago who said they supported outdoor dining. Every single one. Rosie, you didn't make a comment, but congratulations. You have made something that everybody supports into a partisan issue. That's unbelievable because of the way it was framed and done. And I don't go on Facebook much, but I went on and people on the dais said, well, we did it. Blame the mayor if it doesn't get done. That's no way to get things done. One, we live in a community where we have a strong council and a less strong mayor, okay? That's how the thing works. If you guys want to close the city or the street, do it. They elected you to make those decisions. They didn't elect you to ask the mayor to do that.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Hello, Stacy Allen, 17 Plymouth Road. I spoke last week, I stood in this very same place, and I spoke to you about my daughter's emergency anaphylactic reaction at Ani Ramen in town. I asked her permission before speaking in front of you to share her private health information and her data because it was a very traumatic event for us, and I didn't know if she'd want it shared with the public. She said she definitely did want me to share it because she thought that my point about Maple Street was very valid, and she wasn't sure she would have survived if the road was closed or if I couldn't find her that night because the road was closed. I assured her that all of our council members would take her safety and the rest of Summit's safety very seriously. I'm very disappointed that you all voted, many of you voted, to close Maple Street for just good vibes and supposed better, outdoor dining. I love outdoor dining. Of course everybody loves outdoor dining. It's like such a stupid conversation. Of course we love outdoor dining. It's such a great thing. We don't love outdoor dining when it means fire trucks and ambulances or me driving my daughter to the hospital can't get through. Like, let's just make some sense around here. I can't even believe we're talking about this. How could you even vote to do this? Whatever Mike is saying, thank you, Mike McTiernan, for explaining it. I don't know all the ordinances and all the stuff that went on, but making it, whatever was going on with making the mayor do it, and you guys can't actually do it, and you're asking the mayor to do it, it just makes no sense at all. I would hate to see if any of you had an emergency and Maple Street being closed caused your loved one or yourself to have any delay in getting services from the EMT. I have called our EMT. It takes a long time for them to get there. When you have a heart attack, an anaphylactic reaction, the police come for choking. I've had that experience too. I use all of our services way too much because my three kids all have food allergies. So I know what it's like when there's a delay. It is very serious, and I am very disappointed that you voted to close Maple Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Good evening. My name is Deborah Olchak. I live at 15D New England Avenue. I am one of the residents of Manley Court, and I know you know of the requests for some parking considerations for the residents that live there. Years ago, we used to have a permit that allowed the residents of Manley Court to park along New England Avenue. I'm not sure whatever happened with that, but I've lived there a long time, and we did have that permit. I'd like to think that there might be some consideration to reinstate that. I also would like the people from Manley Court who are here tonight to raise their hands so you can see who's come out in support of this. You guys who are here? Okay. So you can see this is very important to these residents that we came to show our concern tonight. So thank you again for consideration. I think we all appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from, yes. Good evening.
Keith Lynch, 15 New England Avenue. Just to follow up, Debbie, I just want to ask the question if we, at the end of this session, can get an update on any current status on the parking situation at Manley Court. I don't know if anyone posed that question, so you'll respond, but if we can get an update on the status. I just wanted to thank everyone for your service. My father-in-law passed away yesterday, and he served 15 years on the planning board in Burnsville, and I respect every one of you for everything you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay, then we can move on to council member comments and new business. Council member Landman.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to respond to a couple of the comments and questions from tonight. So first, regarding Wilson Park, I too have been digging in regarding the possible deed restrictions. I've requested a title search and referred this to the Mount Laurel Subcommittee to do some further diligence. Specifically, did we fully explore all other alternatives to this site? Do we pursue selling the Edgewood property and purchasing another? If so, why was that abandoned? And so on. So I do think that with the addition of over 500 housing units of one kind or another through the Affordable Housing Plan, we very well may need to expand Wilson School at some point, and so therefore I do think the space will be needed by the city and preserve that park is very important to me. On Tatlock Lights, as it relates to the litigation questions, we've been advised by our city solicitor not to discuss the details of pending litigation. I can say, though, that the city has received a settlement proposal that is under review, and a case management conference is scheduled with the court this month. Also on the lights, I'm happy with the progress as well that we've been making recently. I was hoping we could turn on the lights for a little bit one night this week, just so residents could come check it out. It might actually diffuse some of the anxiety for those who live in the neighborhood and bring some excitement for those who've been looking forward to them. But I believe others on this dais would prefer to keep them dark until later. So if anything changes, I'll share that. On sidewalks, to the residents who've reached out over the past few weeks about sidewalks for their street, both those in support of and those who are frustrated with them coming in, we hear you. The city could do a much better job communicating about these plans, and I'm sorry that residents feel like they're in the dark or caught by surprise. That should never happen. We're going to work on that, and we should take into account individual resident feedback where we can. And so, as I committed to you via email, we are going to work on this. I'm paying attention to it. So thank you. And then I just want to close with a couple of quick shout outs. First to Shanae Green. Last council meeting, we moved this agenda item to the consent agenda, so I didn't get to highlight it. But the city council works very closely with the city clerk and her team. And so last council, we promoted Shanae to deputy city clerk. And I didn't get a chance to give her a shout out, so I wanted to just do that tonight. She has demonstrated outstanding performance and great potential, and we are super excited to work with her in this new capacity. Second, many of our Summit High School teams are on fire closing out their seasons right now. I don't know if anybody has an update. The girls softball team is playing in the Union County Championship tonight. I don't know if their game is over yet and whether or not they won, but just wanted to give them a shout out and say well done, girls, and you have a lot to be proud of. And then last but not least, I also want to give a shout out to Kristen Scalia for hosting a roundtable discussion with retailers in Summit last night. I joined to just listen and learn and hear more about the retail challenges and opportunities in Summit, particularly that our small businesses are facing. The group has some great ideas for supporting small businesses in the city. And as a resident and SDI board liaison and council member, I'm super excited to support them. So more to come on that front. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Pulowski.
Okay.
Okay. Timer going.
I don't care about the timer. Council introduced an ordinance tonight to forbid federal or other detention centers within our city limits. So don't get me wrong, I have no interest in hosting a detention center in Summit, and I'm adamantly opposed to it, and that's why I voted in favor of the measure. But I do hope we didn't spend too much of our professionals' time or taxpayers' money to implement this measure. Given the Constitution's supremacy clause, which all you lawyers in the room know well, I doubt we would ever be able to enforce this ordinance, point we've discussed repeatedly in committee. I believe, frankly, that this is a political statement. It's not a realistically enforceable measure. Our residents don't elect us to signal virtue. They elect us to run Summit and do what is right for the city. That's our sole purpose from this dais. And on top of all that, Mayor Fagan and I have repeatedly warned that given the demeanor of our current presidential administration, probably the best possible way to get a detention center in Summit is to enact an ordinance forbidding one. So I hope we haven't attracted any unwanted attention to ourselves or poked the bear. On sidewalks on Kent Place Boulevard, I've gotten a bunch of emails and telephone calls in the past couple weeks. It seems like all against putting sidewalks there. Now, I know this was planned a long time ago, before I was even on council. I'm not 100% sure why it was delayed for so long, but I'm sure there's been some turnover over the years, and I wonder if we shouldn't pump the brakes on this and speak to the neighbors and see if we really need and want to put those sidewalks in. So I've seen some commentary by the public, including SMDC Chairman Greg Vartan and certain council members regarding Mayor Fagan's BOE appointments being purely political over the past few years. And I'm offended by that. If you haven't been following along, and based on some of the comments, I know you haven't been, Elizabeth previously reappointed 3 of Mayor Radist's appointments. Melanie Cohen, Walida Justice, and Eileen Kelly, 2 Democrats and a Republican. Now, I think I saw that back in 2015, the entire Board of Education were Democrats. And Mayor Radis brought back some balance to that. And I just wanted to congratulate Mayor Fagan on her most recent appointments. She appointed 2 Summit moms with varied experience to bring new eyes to the board. One has worked one who's an independent, unaffiliated voter, has worked for municipalities and understands governance, served as president of the PTO for her elementary school, and shown her dedication to our public schools. Another is a registered Democrat, a Summit lifelong resident who also has children in the schools. Both are champions of our public schools and bring new skills to the Board of Ed, which will help with transparency, budgeting, and overall educational excellence. Chairman Vartan said in a recent article or an op-ed that he put out there that geography matters. Well, the suggestion was that Mayor Fagan has not been thoughtful about her Board of Ed appointments, but of our 7 Board of Ed members, or among our 7 Board of Ed members, each of our 5 elementary school districts are represented. And in case you're interested in this kind of thing, there's 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans, and 1 independent. I'm not sure how much more balanced you can get than that, and that's by Mayor Fagan's design. She carefully curated this Board of Ed to have balance. So, well done.
Thank you.
We have been working to put together a round 4 affordable housing common council task force. And it came to my attention that the SMDC promoted the Round 4 Common Council Task Force in a partisan email newsletter that actually attacks the prior council majority on affordable housing. So a question for my colleagues, you can answer it during these comments if you'd like, or you don't have to. Did each of you personally authorize or approve this messaging? Did you intend this task force to be recruited through a partisan channel? And how does that recruitment process represent the interests of Summit residents who are not on SMDC's mailing list? I think Summit residents deserve to know whether their elected officials see city bodies as instruments of party messaging, unlike Mayor Fagan, or as bodies that represent the full community. The answer matters for how we should expect the council, or the city, to staff future task forces, advisory committees, and resident bodies. On Maple Street, former council president, former 2-time council president, McTiernan asked some questions. And it was 2 council cycles ago, I think, not 2 weeks ago, but a month ago, where the Maple Street ordinance first emerged. And if you look back at the original council packet, you'll see that that ordinance quotes the relevant statute. It specifically says that the council can authorize the mayor to close the road if she finds it necessary, etc. Someone made a motion to amend that ordinance and replace it, essentially replacing the entire ordinance with one that I think was inaccurate and misstated state law. There are two statutes that I know of that would allow a municipality to close a street for more than 48 hours, and they're both rooted in safety. Council chose to rely upon NJSA 4067-16.9, if anybody out there wants to look it up, for outdoor dining. That statute does not authorize the council to make the final decision, as our ordinance inexplicably recites. It allows the council to authorize the mayor to do so, and only if and do so if and only if she finds that such closing is necessary for the preservation of public safety, health, or welfare. I have seen no evidence or even a colorable argument that this is true. On the contrary, I've seen evidence, including the dynamic traffic memo, that the opposite's true. The Pedestrian Mall Act, on the other hand, gives council the authority to close Maple Street if it finds, among other things, that continued unlimited use of the street by private vehicles may constitute a hazard to the health and safety of pedestrians, and abutting properties can reasonably and adequately be provided with emergency vehicular services and receive and deliver merchandise and materials from other streets and alleys. I've seen no evidence or even a colorable argument that that is true. But for any street closure of more than 48 hours, both statutes require our engineer to recommend closing Maple Street and to certify that doing so is in the interest of safety and the expedition of traffic on our city streets. I've seen no evidence or even a colorable argument that this is true. Before the hearing on May 5th, when council passed this ordinance, Council President Toth informed me that a consensus of council had decided to table the Maple Street ordinance, which would have given the mayor the ability to close Maple Street, and replace it with a pedestrian mall ordinance, which would have given the council, as opposed to the mayor, the ability to close Maple Street. That made sense to me. I figured that the council majority realized that it had not convinced the mayor and decided to take another
Council
route.
President, I'm sorry, I need to use the restroom. May I take a break?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hurry back, Dan. Right before that last meeting, though, Council President Toth informed me that the council had changed its mind and intended to move forward with the hearing on the original ordinance, which again put the decision in Mayor Fagan's hands. That puzzled me. Now, I learned later that our city engineer had informed the city that he would not be signing that required certification that closing Maple Street is in the interest of safety and the expedition of traffic. I don't know if that's why council went forward with the hearing and then published a press release the very next day that there would be no outdoor dining on Maple Street this summer, and that only the mayor is to blame. Yesterday, volunteer Councilman Chris Afuli published an op-ed in TAP purporting to share facts about Maple Street. He states that the ordinance council passed is based on the NJDOT model used in many other communities. What communities? Do they have a city form of government? Is it a borough like Red Bank or a town like Westfield that he's talking about? Is there a difference? There is a difference. In the city form of government, the mayor is the CEO, and that is who has authority under that statute that's in the model DOT form. All of council knows this, as we've repeatedly discussed it ad nauseum. And Councilman Chris Afuli did not volunteer this critical piece of information in his op-ed. Councilman Chris Afuli went on to state that he expected the mayor to give her approval. To that I say, really? You and the other SMDC council members published an article last week stating the exact opposite. Did you even read it before it went to print? Or was this one of those instances where you got to trust the team? And you forgot to capitalize mayor, by the way. Councilman Chris Afuli then states there's no comparable alternative to Maple Street for a summer pedestrian area. And to me, that point says it all. It's always been Maple Street or bust. The focus has never been on safety or the expedition of traffic or investigating if Summit even has a spot that checks all the boxes. So when it became clear that short of a pandemic, a critical road like Maple Street simply is not a realistic, safe, or legal choice for an outdoor dining closure, council went forward with that defective ordinance and blamed the mayor. Now, I remember when former Council President Vartan gave his opening speech as Council President. He listed the virtues that are important for a public service, and I was disappointed that humility didn't make the list. I think humility is the most important virtue a council member can possess because it embraces accountability. A little humility would have gone a long way in explaining why we won't be closing Maple Street this year. While I don't believe council did adequate due diligence regarding the road closure, the truth is that no study or committee findings that we did do actually indicated that closing Maple Street met the safety-driven statutory criteria. One would have expected our elected officials to be straightforward, transparent, and just admit that, regardless of any burning desire or campaign promises. Council majority could simply have said, "We did our best." But the facts just don't support a safe, legal closure of Maple Street this summer. Or our due diligence to date does not support a Maple Street closure, but we'll keep working on it. Instead, having failed to make the case for that safe, legal closure of Maple Street, the council majority deflected accountability and projected its own failure on Mayor Fagan. From day one, Mayor Fagan has selflessly prioritized this city and the safety of our residents. And this is not the first time she rectified a council failure. Mayor Fagan bailed us out again, and we should be thanking her, not condemning her. Thanks.
Thank you for keeping it under 15 minutes. Next, council members' remarks.
I have one
Looking
more
at me, Council Member Saracena.
Thank you, Council President. With apologies at the outset, I'm not going to put myself on the timer because there was just a lot of hot nonsense, to put it plainly, that I think is worthy of responding to. First of all, we are not SMDC council members. I take issue with that. We were elected, we took oaths to serve all of the community, and I know that I can speak for every member of the dais, regardless of their voter registration, that we take that responsibility very seriously. So I will say again, we are not SMDC council members. We are elected council members representing all of the city of Summit. On the issue of Maple Street, Councilman Pulaski, if I may refresh your recollection, we discussed I discussed the ways in which a temporary pedestrian area on Maple Street may indeed serve the safety and welfare of the community. We talked about the information that you kindly shared with me about the number of police-recorded pedestrian incidents along Summit Ave. We discussed that it is widely accepted amongst city engineers that having a pedestrian area protected from vehicular traffic is a way to enhance pedestrian safety. I also shared several citations to peer-reviewed studies that talk about the public health, the mental health, the welfare, community welfare benefits of temporary pedestrian areas, outdoor dining, community gathering space, things of this nature. Neither you nor Mayor Fagan requested to see those studies. I trust that you access them independently. If you take issue with them, I'm certainly happy to discuss them on the merits, but there is indeed legitimate basis for the idea that a temporary pedestrian closure does indeed serve the expedition of traffic by drawing pedestrian traffic to the protected area and away from Summit Ave in this example, and also serves the welfare of the community. Now, Mayor Fagan is able to draw her own conclusions from that, which she has, but there is a colorable argument, as you'd like to said, if you had been paying attention. On the issue of the Board of Ed, I have shared some views on the process, not the outcomes, not the people involved. I appreciate everyone who volunteers in the service of our public schools in particular. Our public schools are an amazing public asset. The Board of Ed is the protector. And the process, I think the practice that we follow to select the Board of Ed members is really important, right? Because it matters who serves on the Board of Ed. Summit is a bit unique, right? In most other communities in New Jersey, the Board of Education is popularly elected. In Summit, we're what's called a Type 1 district, where the mayor is empowered to appoint the Board of Ed members. It is ultimately her decision. It's in her discretion. But there is a process in the district bylaws that says the initial evaluation actually begins with the Board of Ed president. The Board of Ed president and the board, they have an opportunity to evaluate candidates, to interview either publicly or in private, and then to make recommendations, pass those along to the mayor to support her analysis of the candidates. And my understanding is that regrettably that process has not been followed for the last several years. I've reached out to Mayor Fagan on this. She has not yet had an opportunity to respond. I've reached out to her several times over a month, still awaiting a response. But my understanding is that that process has not been followed. So I think at the very least, we should make sure that the process that's in the district bylaws is followed. Again, we should respect that process. I think it's a good process from a governance perspective because, again, it just matters a lot who serves on the Board of Ed. Bringing us back to a very different topic, for those grieving the loss and violence, the loss of innocent life at the Islamic Center of San Diego, I'm very sorry. There's far too much religious-based violence. There have been many acts of anti-Semitic violence over the last several months and years and decades and millennia. There's obviously too much gun violence, and in particular violence against minority groups. As someone who enjoys being a member of most majorities, I am thinking about what I can do, and as part of the series of work that we're doing, building the communities that we wish to have both for today and for the future, I have started researching independently what we may be able to do to restrict gun retailers within our municipality, and that work will continue. On the detention center ordinance, this is, again, in the spirit of transparency, this is an initiative that I have been pushing. I feel strongly that it is in the interest of the community. I take personal offense. This is not virtue signaling. I would not waste the city's resources or the community's time on that. The only waste of resources may have been that Councilman Pulowski kept on raising the same questions and issues over and over again in meetings where our city solicitors were present. That, in my view, is a waste of resources. We've talked about all the issues, but for the benefit of the community, I will say we are seeing this rapidly evolving issue unfold in communities like Morristown and Roxbury, right? I think we all agree, many of us agree at least, that we do not want a detention center or an additional carceral facility of any kind in Summit because of the strain on infrastructure, environmental impact, the strain on our first responders, the detriment that it can have to the character of a community, and so on. Again, we should not put ourselves in the position of judges. There are concerns related to federal preemption, but as with respect to a private operator of a carceral facility, and we know there are many private operators who work in this space, separate and apart from government agencies, this may very well stand up on challenge if it were challenged. I think it's an important clarification, and I would much rather have some kind of defense, some shield, than none, in my personal view. I want to thank the organizers of the Mental Wellness Symposium. This is our final meeting of, sorry to be tacking all over the place here. It's our final council meeting during Mental Health Awareness Month. There was a wonderful gathering of resources, including our fabulous new ACT officer. It was a really great gathering of mental health supports that was hosted at the high school, and I was very lucky to get to participate. I personally manage panic attacks and anxiety. I have worked with mental health professionals in various seasons of my life since college, and I would just like to share that just as you would if you were sick physically, sometimes it can be an event, or sometimes it's just a heavy feeling that you feel when you wake up in the morning. But please ask for help. It is not a sign of weakness. It's just you taking good care of yourself. And you're important, and we want you to be here, so please do take good care. Finally, thank you for bearing with me. Thanks to our wonderful school administrators and our fantastic PTOs for coordinating Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week last week at our schools. It was a really wonderful set of events with things like lunches and dessert bars, and just a great showing of gratitude for our teachers who do so much to make magic happen in our public schools. So thank you again to our administrators and our PTOs. And with that, I will close my comments.
Thank you. Let's give everyone else a chance to speak once, Mr. Pulowski.
Yep.
Ms. Kelman.
Thank you, Council President. Manley Court neighbors, thank you for coming out. I recognize a lot of you from our listening session, and I want you to know that we're talking about this again tomorrow at our meeting. Jamel and I, we spoke with Nicole, our parking services director. We had a meeting with her for an hour and a half last week, and we just need to be so careful. This is an ordinance, and we want to make sure that we're very careful and we don't create any new problems. So that's why it's taking so long. You know, we don't want to inadvertently make a new problem. So please be patient with us. I promise we have not forgotten you, and we are continuing to. I hope to get in touch soon with some with some new news. But please know that we continue to work on this. Ms. Adams, thank you for coming and speaking about the your Japanese maple. I received your email yesterday, and I was at the firehouse for the swearing in for the new firefighters. And I saw the email, and on my way home, I drove by your house, your street, because I wanted to see that tree and I wanted to see the other trees. And the picture that you sent does not do that tree justice. It is beautiful. And I understand why you love it so much, and the neighbors love it so much, and everyone wants to protect it. The sidewalks are not under my committee, and I think that they've been in discussion for a while, so they're in CAPS committee. So I've reached out to Councilmember Christofouli to get more information, and he's looking into that. But I think this is also something that's new to him, too. Couple more things. Okay, so about the playground, I didn't realize we were giving comments at the time when we pulled it, so I did want to say something about the new playground that's coming. So I am really over the moon about this playground that's coming to the community center, because it's really going to improve the quality of life for so many people. I remember when my kids were little, this was before we moved to Summit, and there were a lot of playgrounds around, but none of them were walkable. So it was such a chore, you'd have to get the diaper bag, the snacks, the stroller, put all the kids in the car, put them in their seats. And you go to the park and you find a parking spot and you have to unpack everything. And it was just such a chore. And I just thought the entire trip would be so much more enjoyable if there was a playground that we could walk to. And, it just brings me a lot of joy to know that more families in Summit are going to be able to have this experience thanks to this new playground. Words don't really seem adequate to express my appreciation, but I will try. Thank you to the Sanders Fund for this very generous donation and investment in the community that we all love so much. I can't wait to see little ones laughing and playing in what will be a beautiful playground and gift to the city of Summit. And lastly, this is a lot for me in one meeting. Something that I really regret that it got bundled into the consent agenda last week, and I realized after the fact, was that we have this new position of an ACT officer, and it's Sergeant Majuli is our new ACT officer. And I don't know if maybe Mayor Fagan would like to call Chief Peters up to talk a little bit about it or not. It was such an important thing.
Thank you. Actually, it's funny, we left last week and I was like, we kind of whiffed on that.
We did. We did.
Would you mind, Chief?
Thank you.
Everybody likes to hear me talk.
Through you, Council President. So, the beginning of Mental Health Awareness Month, there was discussions regarding what the police department can do additionally to address some of the increased calls for service we've seen regarding mental health, substance abuse, addiction, unfortunately suicidal ideations and suicides. I've done a few quarterly statistical reports up here. Luckily, much of the criminal activity we've seen over the last 5 to 6 years has been declining locally and regionally. But I've continued to say we've seen a continued uptick. The mayor and I sit down every Monday and we go through our calls of service of mental health and substance abuse treatment calls. So understanding that trend and hoping to address it in a more proactive way, we developed a new assignment within the police department without increasing the table of organization, with just a kind of restructuring of assignments. And it's unprecedented. We don't know any other police department that has this type of officer, but it's an addiction coordination treatment officer, ACT Act, as Councilwoman Hamilton and Liz Saracine had referenced. And she's going to work closely with our new Bridgeway friends who are working per diem under the opioid fund, some of the funds that we've received. In addition, working with Summit Oaks Hospital, Overlook Hospital, serving on the Mayor's Homelessness Task Force. Sergeant Medulla is also a DARE certified officer. In addition to that, she's worked closely with veterans. So it's our hope that we can kind of target each one of these calls for service specifically and provide families the resources and access to treatment that they need, as opposed to just taking a call for service, transporting somebody up to the hospital and never seeing them again. So she's hit the ground running. She was reassigned last week, has already had multiple meetings scheduled, has met with certain people, and has also sat down with families. And if she is here and she is on duty, she's working 10 to 8. The ARRIVE program, which partners up a mental health specialist with a law enforcement officer. Union County was the first county in the state of New Jersey to have full compliance with all municipalities, so we do have access to that as well. Their research and data supports that most of these calls for service come in between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. So that's going to be her hours. If she's working and there's a call for service that comes out, it was actually day one. She wasn't even an hour into her shift and she got deployed out into the field. So super excited about it. We will be reporting back. A portion of her salary is going to be reimbursed through the opioid funds, a small portion. So we will be reporting regularly to the opioid committee, as well as the Mayor's Homelessness Task Force, and then obviously to council as well. So appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions while I'm up here?
No.
Cool.
And I'm sure I'm stepping on the mayor's lines, but, yes, Sergeant Majuli now, yes.
Yes, Sergeant
Yes,
Majuli.
we've known her for a while. She's fabulous.
And then in
Really
addition,
excited for her.
that opened up a vacancy for another sergeant. So Officer Michael Alessandro, who's been serving as an officer in charge as well as a field training officer, was promoted last
Right.
week as well.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chief. And I just wanted, I don't think you mentioned that this was your idea. You haven't seen this.
Mayor and I.
Okay, sorry, the mayor. Okay, the mayor and chief, this was their idea. No one else is doing this that we're aware of right now. So, thank you for your leadership. It's really exciting, for Summit to be a leader. And this, I know other people are going to copy this. This is amazing. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. And I saw your hand, Councilmember Christofouli.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Just a quick reference, I did have received feedback from the city engineer about the sidewalks. The history goes back probably 10 years, well before 2019, when it was included in a master plan. Communications with residents more recently have been inadequate, and the city has acknowledged that. And so I believe there's a meeting that took place today or tomorrow. There are meetings in the works. If the meetings haven't taken place, they will be taking place to better understand the situation in the neighborhood. And so this is new information for me. The city engineer is working with the private company that was hired to do this last year. And so the firm was hired last fall to do the work. And so this is something that's been going on for some time. And so we want to get to the answers and figure out what's happening and how we can, make changes as necessary. So that's what we're trying to work on here. And it.
Please speak in, actually,
so maybe let's take this offline. I really appreciate you coming tonight. I went to Dartmouth, but I also bleed green. I love trees. Dartmouth's color is green. Our team is big green. I love trees. And I have been known to hug trees. This is a public admission. So I care, and we want to try to find a solution there. And I'd like to address that offline separately for more detail. presentations tonight, our town's role in the Revolutionary War and the ultimate price too many of our firefighters have paid really makes me focus on the deep and rich history that binds us together. And I was proud to introduce the resolution to place a Victory Town marker on the village green as a reminder of our own contribution. We may have very different perspectives on issues that affect our country and our town, but I want to focus on how we come together. That's why I support initiatives that create spaces for neighbors to meet in person and get to know one another. The new pop-up dog parks are a great example. This is something supported across throughout the dais here, as are the lights for kids' sports at Tatlock that we're working to turn on, and the 3 new playgrounds currently being constructed and planned. I believe there's a value to public welfare in creating these shared spaces, especially as we spend more time online. The Maple Street ordinance is based on the New Jersey DOT model used in many other communities. Our police chief, Ryan Peters, and the fire chief, Eric Evers, publicly addressed safety concerns at the May 5th council meeting, and they stated that the closure was workable. Chief Peters explained that emergency response impacts would be minimal and the traffic impacts were expected to be limited based on the traffic study and the time of year. Chief Evers stated clearly that the fire department was prepared to respond safely in the area and had sufficient access. The ordinance I introduced does require the mayor to sign off on the pedestrian area. And in the months that we discussed this in various committees and addressed all of the concerns and discussed many times, and also shared our shared fondness for these spaces, I thought we could even get Bob to a yes. But we were not able to do that, unfortunately. And that was probably my judgment. I thought we could get to a yes. Based on 3 prior years of Maple Street dining, council and city staff began work on this pedestrian area in January. The ordinance moved through the various committees. City professionals, engineers, police, fire officials were consulted throughout the process, and their feedback was incorporated. The Maple Street pedestrian area worked successfully for 3 summers. Summit embraced outdoor dining, and many outdoor businesses benefited from the increased foot traffic and activity. The new ordinance would have expanded on that success. Summit city engineer was actively engaged in the process and has forwarded the ordinance to New Jersey DOT for final approval. He upheld his duty to the city in a nonpartisan way and in no way acted to obstruct the ordinance. No comparable alternative to Maple Street for a summer pedestrian area downtown has been identified. We explored other locations, including the Bank Street lot, Union Place, Beechwood Road, and you could add to that Springfield Avenue and Summit Avenue if you'd like, but found each of them impractical due to the greater loss of parking, lack of restaurant infrastructure. Restaurants can't just go out and create a completely different delivery model using food trucks. That is not a realistic solution, and the restaurant owners have stated that very clearly. It's a different business. And frankly, the limited appeal of some of these locations, particularly the Bank Street lot, which is surrounded by dumpsters and the backs of buildings. The Bank Street lot was tried a few years ago, and few residents came. In fact, nobody I've talked to even remembers the Bank Street lot was used for outdoor dining. We need to think creatively at a time when many downtown businesses face economic pressures and declining foot traffic. Our downtown is at risk, and we're working with a leading consulting firm to identify economic development opportunities going forward. I hope to see the draft of that report soon. In addition, I welcome all ideas toward the shared purpose of keeping Summit vibrant.
Yes, Councilmember Boyer.
Through you, Council President. First, let me address the data centers. The reason why I brought it up. While in the minority, you here on council, you typically don't get all the information. You know, you put stuff forward, and it gets lost in the shuffle. And the data centers is something that I thought was very important. So I accomplished my goal tonight. So I was after really something different. And I wanted this council on record, and I wanted my colleagues in front of the residents who elected them to either say, yes, they will take up the data centers as a standalone ordinance, which they did, which is great, or no. And I got the answer that I was looking for, which was a commitment to the public that we will have an ordinance coming and a data center will not be here in Summit. But I do want to say on the outset, once again, when it comes to detention centers, no one wants that in their town. But when I got a call about this, I have to be quite, candid here. I thought this was largely a piece of political theater. It was just a gesture, right? Something political. And we really just don't have time for that. So, a data center, spending time on that is something that's greatly needed, and I hope this council pushes forward with that. Secondly, this is the second time that I've seen on council where there's a member who uses this platform to pressure the mayor on a matter the council has no statutory role in. The Maple Street closure ordinance attempted to work around the mayor's authority, and there was, a post on Facebook, and Councilwoman Saraceno just said it. It's the same type of attempt, but in a different form, dressed up as a request to the BOE, but functionally as public pressure campaign against the mayor's lawful exercise of power, which is granted to her by the state of New Jersey. And so, in essence of Maple Street, we should stay in our lane. Secondly, I want to give kudos to Chief Evers. I know that he is retiring. Chief Evers has been a pillar of the Summit Fire Department for decades, serving as the chief and fire official since 2014. Under his leadership, the department has just hasn't just responded to emergencies, it has innovated, from securing critical grant funding for life-saving turnout gear year after year, as I sat in those safety committee meetings, to the digital collision prevention system to protect our first responders on the road, which is pretty cool. That's that thing when you drive and it says the police are here or the fire department. Yeah, that is a pretty cool system. But one of his lasting legacies is the new firehouse. Chief Evers worked tirelessly on that. I mean, he put a lot of time and effort into it, and we had a lot of conversations about it. But beyond the technology and the building, Chief Evers, he just presented here, has been a leader with the heart for the community, whether he was organizing tributes for the National Fallen Firefighters events or personally traveling, like he said, to Maryland to support the families of fallen heroes. He embodied the values of service and sacrifice that define Summit. So, Chief, wherever you are, thank you for your steady hand, your professional excellence, and your commitment to the residents of the city. You are leaving the department in excellent hands, having mentored the next generation of leaders. And I wish you nothing but the best in this next chapter. You earned every bit of it. Thirdly, to the residents of Manley Court, we've been working diligently on this. I have proposed a bunch of different things. I've said before that, this is 2026, and Summit needs to be more more advanced with technology. I mean, we have it, we need to use it. And Speaking of which, we spent an hour or two using some of that technology. Didn't have all the data that I needed, but it can be done. So right now, our director is looking into something that the LPRs can be coded, and different things that they can do. So we can have more conversations about that. So waiting for her to get back to us so that we can continue these conversations and hopefully move forward. I really am not a fan of delays and sitting around talking for weeks and weeks and weeks and nothing gets done. That drives me completely crazy. Fourthly, this weekend went to a fish fry. The Hill City Masons, their home base used to be the American Legion, which we affectionately call the Blue Door, on Union Place. It was actually man, you go in there and listen to some soul music, some R&B. I miss that place. So it gave the city of Summit so much color, literally. And, I really love that place. So I had to go to Vauxhall because they had the fish fry because they no longer can have it in the Beacon Street parking lot, which I have no idea why. I mean, the residents love having fried fish on a Saturday. That was a really cool thing. My father-in-law used to, had the deep fryer and do all of that. So I'm going to work hard to bring that back. I don't know what happened to that, and I know Henry, we can talk. And that's, so that's one thing. But it was good, though. It was really good. I think the residents of Summit would have really enjoyed that. When it comes to the sidewalks, my number one thing is if residents don't want it, really, there's so many other neighborhoods, and this is no knock, I just want to because they cost a lot of money, and we had a group of residents, maybe 200, 250 on Ashland Avenue that wanted it, and they signed petitions and everything else. So to me, it's a no-brainer if the residents in your area have cause for concern. We have a whole list. And I don't know if there's grants involved or money already been allocated. I think we have to figure that out. But I'm a big proponent of, hey, if we don't have 100% cooperation on sidewalks, that's cool. We shouldn't do it because there's a need for that. Man, Mr. Lynch, my condolences, sir. Let's see here. Just a couple more things. I know it was on the agenda, the Our House and Wilson School, but I really have to make it clear that fair share housing, the affordable housing, it's never going to end. This is a mandate from the state that has been handed to this council to deal with. And we've done the best job we possibly could. Every municipality has to deal with this, and it's not going away, right? So, you're thinking about your green spaces right now. Well, in 10 years, if your kids haven't graduated and you've moved on to another state, right? But in 10 years, you're going to have another 500 and some odd, units going in town, right? And where are you going to put those? We'll be back in the same space. There's no end to it. I think the Reverend Harry L. came up and asked a great question. I didn't even think about it. He's like, well, is there an end date to this? No, there isn't. So today it's Wilson School. In 10 years, maybe Tatlock Field. I mean, so we won't have to be talking about the lights anymore. But interesting enough, there is also an executive order that was signed by the governor. And this executive order basically creates a state-level housing governance council, and it puts NJ Transit at the table because we are a hub. So it's NJ Transit here in Summit and Morristown. It directs every state agency to inventory its developable land. Final recommendations are due in September, so I would keep an eye on that. What is going to be on the list? There's state property here in Summit. There's a parking lot, I think, on Broad Street, right? I would hope the state wouldn't take the parking lot, but I mean, let's keep an eye on it. I mean, they're really pushing this stuff. And state developers and local zoning laws don't really have the last word. So I'm telling you, a project is not imminent. I'm not saying that, but I would keep an eye on what the state is doing. Once again, if you want to get angry about where housing is, whether that's on Shung Pike or Ashwood and Morris or Ashwood and Broad, where the Wells Fargo building is, these are all mandates that have really came from the state for over the last 10 years, and they're going to keep coming. So the finger shouldn't be pointed here at us. It really should be pointed at Trenton if you're really upset about it, really. Call your legislator, District 21 we're in, your assembly folks, and, email the governor. Their office is pretty responsive. They'll get back to you. Again, the Maple Street stuff, I really didn't want to talk about it, but, I just heard some things that, I guess the plan is if you say something over and over again, right, people will believe it. It's just like etched in your brain, So I'll wake up in the morning and say, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire, I'm a millionaire. And it's okay if I only think that I'm a millionaire. But, I mean, I heard Dan say, Councilman Christofoli say workable and minimal. That doesn't sound like necessary and safe at all. And I also heard that the engineer forwarded the ordinance to the DOT for final approval. That's news to me. Geez, I hope not, right? Without the mayor's signature, that is what I talked about at the last council meeting. That would really put the city in jeopardy, right? Bypassing our own form of government to then open up Maple Street without the proper protocols. And we talk about doing our due diligence and everything with the data centers and whatnot. We can't have it one way this council meeting and another way the next one. We really should be consistent. And we really should focus on summit issues all the time. Let's see here. I think I am almost done here. Sometimes I miss things that people say, so I just want to make sure that I have everything. Yep, I'm good. Thank you, Council President.
Okay, thank you. For how long?
Not sure. So I really don't think I spent too much of our city solicitor's time on detention centers in committee. It's not like I had them research and write a memo on whether the mayor and me are legally conflicted on Tatlock lights without telling us or even raising it in Law and Labor First. To me, that was a waste of money. But I did look at the peer review studies, and none of them really established that closing Maple Street is necessary or in the interest of the expedition of traffic. They didn't even mention Maple Street, which is to say that every street's different. You got to look at specific situations. Hypothetical benefits, especially given the traffic reports that we have seen from Colliers and dynamic traffic, are irrelevant in terms of the calculus about what we're going to do. So the last thing I have to say tonight is there's a rumor floating around that one of us is going to resign from council tonight, and it's true, and it's me. With a heavy heart, I announce my resignation from council here tonight, effective at the close of business on Friday, May 22nd. 2026 and 2027 will be two of the busiest years of my career as a lawyer. And after careful consideration, I concluded that I no longer have the bandwidth to do that job and provide the level of service as a council member our residents deserve. So I will step aside from this position I love and make room for another Hill citizen with the ability to give this community the time and attention it deserves. Council will choose my replacement from a list of 3 well-qualified candidates submitted by the Summit Republican City Committee. Rosie, you should receive that list any minute now, and I encourage the council to appoint my replacement with alacrity. There's no need to wait the full 30-day statutory allotment to fill my seat. Summit needs a full council, and council should not shortchange our residents unnecessarily. While I regret not completing my term and not running for re-election for that matter, I have no regrets about the work this council has done since I had the good fortune to join the dais. We bolstered our police force and enacted the resident protection ordinance. Crime is down as a result. Our residents are safer today than they were in 2023. We created a homelessness task force, enacted the camping ordinance, and reduced our unhoused population to net zero by giving our less fortunate brothers and sisters a leg up instead of a handout. Lights are up at Tatlock Park, and we have a sensible ordinance that balances the needs of our youth with the concerns of the community at large. We have a beautiful new playground opening shortly at Maybe Memorial, a new one coming to Tatlock Park, and another coming soon near the community center. This is a welcome trend, and I hope it continues. A new permanent dog park, I think, is on the horizon. Measures to reduce demolition of our historic homes and protect the character and beauty of our city are in effect, and power washing is a thing again. We have a solid round 4 affordable housing plan that will position Summit well for the future. Going forward, as I always have, I encourage my fellow elected officials to think for themselves and resist the urge to capitulate to whims or higher political aspirations for themselves or for others. Just do what's best for Summit. Council's job is to protect our residents and keep Summit the beacon it always has been atop this second Watchung Mountain we all call home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President.
Oh. I was going to call
Don't you
point
wish. No,
of
I'm just
privilege
kidding.
for just a moment. I was going to say, council member, I will miss our public sparring and private cooperation. You have pushed all of us to do our jobs better, and I hope you will return on May 3rd, so that or June 3rd, excuse me, so that earlier in the evening when we have a full house, we can acknowledge you more fulsomely, and maybe you'll want to hold some of your remarks until then, council member Boyer.
No, I'm sorry.
Of course not.
I'll be there.
Through you, Council President. So, I was a little flustered this meeting because I knew it was coming. Councilman Pulowski is not just a colleague. He's my friend. And during COVID, one of those things, we heard terms like, advocacy, be an advocate, right? And, Bob was an advocate to the highest degree. And the one thing is, Bob is incapable of doing, I want to say the, y'all know what I mean, right? He's incapable of that. And, you know, we've had conversations about this, and, you know, if he can't give something his 100% all, because he just can't do it. Like, it's impossible. I think he said to me that he was going to dial it back like 2 years ago. And that just never happened. But there is a cost for this type of fidelity. I respect his decision tonight, precisely because I've seen what he has poured into this office. And I understand what such devotion demands of a man and of those who love him. Which brings me to the people I most wish to thank this evening, and that is Bob's wife.
I think she's watching somewhere.
Thank you, Tremaine, and his entire family. None of us occupies these chairs alone. Standing behind each of us is someone who absorbs the absences, who carries more than their share at home, who lends their husband or their father or their wife to the public business of the city, and who bears in quiet what this work asks. Bob, your family did not merely support you in this. They are the reason you became the sort of man we wanted at this table to begin with us. And they shape your character, and then, with no small generosity, they shared you with the rest of us. We are in debt, and I hope they hear me say so tonight. Now, last but not least, I didn't even know, I thought you changed your mind tonight. I was going to delete the whole speech. I was like, when is this guy going to say it? Like, and I'm like so anxious. We're talking about data centers. I'm like, when's Bob going to resign? Jesus.
Couldn't wait.
Oh, man. But now, you know, in all good conscience, I can't let Bob walk out of these chambers without one final observation. A couple of Halloweens ago, in our wisdom, Bob and I resolved to present ourselves to public as the Blues Brothers. And by virtue of my fame, I was casted as Elwood, you know, tall, lean one. Probably Dan's probably better for that one. And Bob, with appropriate gravitas, I know you like that word, took up the mantle of Jake. So permit me, in his honor, to borrow Elwood's line one last time. We are on a mission from God. And brother, you discharged that mission with distinction. Thank you.
Thank you.
I promise not to
the
go
mayor.
on.
Okay,
I will withhold my comments until June 3rd, as long as you promise you're going to be here.
He already did.
But I also have a prop because, Bob, you are the GOAT.
I wondered why you brought the goat.
Thank you.
And now you know. why
Now I
brought the
know. Okay. Oh, my.
Oh, wait, and softball's up in the seventh
what?
inning. Softball is winning in the seventh inning.
Good to know.
Did they
Thank
finish?
you.
Okay, they were winning 16-2 or something, so.
So it's close.
So, again.
Okay. They probably don't do the mercy rule in high school, huh?
No.
Anyway, I just want to preface this by, I wrote this earlier in the day before any of us said anything on the dais, so it's not in response to anything that happened here tonight, but it's been getting to me for a while. Because I did speak at the beginning of the meeting about city employees giving 100%. Now, every city employee and every elected official in Summit works incredibly hard to do what is best for this community every single day. Some of us may differ on what we believe is best for Summit, and that's fine. It's the marketplace of ideas, and we can disagree respectfully. But all too often, what we're seeing instead is disparaging language and accusations of bad motives. That's unacceptable. If you have a question, better yet, if you have a positive suggestion, please reach out to any elected official directly. You can email us. You can attend a listening session. You can swing by my Monday afternoon office hours, but not Memorial Day. I have said this before, and I will say it again. We are all neighbors, and we are in this together. Let's please all assume everyone is acting with goodwill, and let's work together for a better Summit. Thank you, and do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Redo.
Thank you.